My next guest is the son of a bricklayer who went on to become a member of the Royal Horticultural Society and Lord of the Manor. Like Charlotte, he's lived in France, but he's served his time and he's home again. Welcome to Rolling Stone, Bill Wyman. Bill, you lived in the south of France. Did you take to their ways?
Very difficult. I tried to stay English, and it wasn't possible. I did it for about 2 years, and then I missed all those good things about England, like bird's custard and things like that.
Not only bird's custard, I imagine. What else?
Branston pickle. A lot of good things you can't get down there. I got a bit out of touch. It was very difficult to keep in touch with what was going on, you know, musically, films, television, football.
Did you keep yourself to yourself? I mean, did you get involved with the local people?
No, not very much. No, I couldn't really relate to them. First of all, I couldn't speak the language, which makes it a bit difficult. And then after a while, I met French people that were more artistic, and I found I liked them then. It was a bit easier.
What do the French usually do for entertainment, did you discover?
Question.
Well, it's a smashing answer, eh?
She knows that better than I do.
She speaks the language, you see, it makes a difference.
They cycle and things like that, don't they? They play rugby, you know, they don't play football very much. They've got a good football team now, but I can't get on with them too well. I find it very difficult.
What about their sense of humour?
I must point out, though, that I lived in the south of France, which is quite different to, like, Paris, which is much more variety, new films, everything. It's much more interesting to go to Paris. We're a bit sort of laid back there. It's almost like northern Italy down there, you know. It's, that's not fun.
Interesting, the Italians, if you try to speak their language, they're delighted. If the French hear you trying to speak French, they just take Le Michel, don't they?
Well, it's sort of faintly ridiculous, isn't it? That's the problem.
Haven't you found that if you don't pronounce it absolutely perfect, they refuse to understand you?
Well, the problem, I think, is about the English and the French, is that, in fact, they're much more similar than they would actually like to think they are. They're both fiercely individualistic, and they're both fiercely proud of what they are and who they are. So there's a kind of constant battle of will, which is quite exciting. I'm sort of halfway down the middle now, so I have to sort of work it out.
It's a bit like Crystal Palace versus Millwall, you know. It's local derby, really, isn't it? Just over the water.
Yeah, I see what you mean. But they are a law unto themselves, very much the French. Speaking of which, you have been for quite some years the Lord of the Manor, the part of Suffolk, haven't you?
Yeah, I was 1968 before I went there, actually. I saved up all my money and put a deposit on it.
What are the perks and the responsibilities of being Lord of the Manor?
You don't know.
You don't know the responsibilities, but I bet you know the perks.
Well, I'm supposed to provide sort of carts and horses and bowmen and things like that in times of war, you know. And you do get other advantages, you know, virgins of the village. Brides on the wedding night before the husband.
It must be difficult to find.
Yeah, it's not an easy job, I'm sure. It's fun trying, I suppose.
No, they've all got shotguns. I'm not.
No, you don't, apart from being Lord of the Manor, you don't go in for a flashy way of life. I don't know whether you drive a big car. I don't think you do. What are your big indulgences, Bill?
Come on, you can tell us. We just can't renew.
Very few, really. You know, I went mad Christmas time. A girlfriend of mine, she bought me a really nice present of 2 parrots. You know, I really like parrots. I always get photos of parrots.
Real ones?
Yeah, I've never had real parrots, but I always get cards of parrots and parrot sort of statuettes and things like that. And I've got this whole collection, and she bought me 2 real parrots, and I thought, oh great! So I went in to see them. You know, they were presented in the room. And I went in to see them. I went, hello, like that. And they went, and I said, are they friendly? Yeah, they walk up and they walked all up a thing onto my shoulder, and she said, they're great, take one. I went like that. and I said, it's no good. And I tried it for about 3 weeks, and they were biting me after the jugular and everything. And so I said, it's no good. Can we return them? She said, yes, we get the money back. So she took them back for me and got the money back. And she said, well, you have to buy yourself another present. So I said, well, how much is it? She said £700. It's a lot of money. I felt awful. So I said, great. I've always wanted to have handmade shoes. I'm not taking too long on this, am I?
No, we can always cut it out. Don't worry.
Right. So I thought I'd go and get some handmade shoes, 4 pairs of handmade shoes. Great, every colour I wanted. So I went to the best shop in London. I can't mention the name. Established, BC 10 or whatever it was. And went in there and ordered it, and they looked very strangely at me because they always make those brogues for the guys with the shooting sticks, And anyway, I chose the 4 things I wanted, and I said, right, do you want a deposit? And he said, yes. I said, how much? He said, well, 500, straight down. And I kept my sort of Rolling Stones on stage look, the favourite Undertaker, and I said, well, how much are they, the whole thing? And he said, they're £485 a pair, you see. OK, so I thought, why not? No, I never indulge. And so I went outside with my girlfriend, and we called a taxi, and she said, I just bought you 1.5 pairs of shoes. Happy birthday.
It's all a bit different from your childhood. I mean, it was Chick Murray. I said, we were so poor, he said, that we were 7 to a kilt. Things weren't too good for you, were they, as a little boy? Where was that?
No, it's very hard. South London, southeast Sydenham, Lewisham.
How hard was it?
Penge. That's a good one. It was awful because Dad was a bricklayer, and if the weather was bad, he didn't work, And so he went 2 months without working, and 5 kids. It was quite difficult. So it was sort of. They didn't used to wake us up in the mornings, if they didn't have breakfast or anything. They used to make us stay in bed and things. So it was a bit tough, but it was great because you didn't know any different, so you never missed anything. And I really appreciate it because it's made me feel quite different about things these days.
When you were back in the 60s, and everyone said the Stones, they're dangerous people. Did you feel that you were?
We were lovely. Really nice. The garage attendants didn't like us, people like that. Hotel managers, because you could never get girls in hotels in those days. So we'd spend like 8 hours every night trying to get girls up fire escape. One goes that way, the night porter goes after him, and then 2 of you go up the elevator, and they call the manager. Oh, it was crazy.
That's how it's done, is it?
Does that interest you, Michael?
No,
No, it was. There was a lot of really stupid things went on, like you were saying earlier about it was never done before, so it was really bizarre. But these days it's nothing; it's very normal.
All very tame now, isn't it?
Yeah.
And your hair was long. The girl's hair was long, so.
Yeah, but they didn't look at it that way. And you went into a tobacconist for a pack of cigarettes, and they said, "Out! We don't serve the likes of you." They wouldn't serve you.
And by that time, you were a successful musician.
Well, we were getting there, 64, we'd been together a year or something, had a couple of hit records. But they didn't want to know about it. You couldn't go in restaurants without ties. You can do anything now,
Well, you've almost come without a tie tonight. We don't mind. But during the 60s, it was a very exciting time, obviously. But we don't have to say that. Do you think that's missing today? Do you think the groups today go through the same apprenticeship that you did?
Generally, no, I don't think.
No.
Some do, of course, but most of them... in those days, you never thought of going to America. You never thought of being on TV, really. If you were going to make a record, that was great. What you did was you performed in public in a club, a little club, a little jazz club, because there weren't any blues clubs. It was all traditional jazz then. And the best you could hope for was that maybe you might be on television one day. So nowadays, kids... they go and they make a record, which they couldn't do in those days. You have to be discovered by an agent, and they have to do that. And then they go and make a video, and they have a hit record, which is great, great music. But they can't play. They've never played. And I've always thought music is for performing in front of a live audience, And a lot of that's missing now. And a lot of young bands who make good records and good music, and they're great looking, and they're not very good performers.
But at least the Stones are still with us, and that's great, and we hope it goes on.
Well, we're still,
Tottering on.
tottering on.